So you have an idea. You have something that you've been kind of rolling around in your head. You have a story that's sort of half formed. You have the desire to take that and turn it into something worthwhile. The first step in the process that we're going to be outlining today is the ideation step. And what's involved in this is coming up with the story itself. Typically, it's easier to start with bits and pieces. My process typically involves having a note on my phone that I'm constantly putting ideas into, whether that's creative ideas, whether that's visuals, whether that's bits of the story. Having something that you keep with you that when you're just when you're driving, when you're doing dishes, when you're taking a shower, your mind is occupied with a mundane activity, but then you have your creativity can just be sort of like moving around, which is why people have ideas at really random times. If you don't put them down, you're going to forget them. You're going to move on and start and get busy with something else, and you're not going to remember what you came up with when you were doing something else. Because these are the ideas that are then going to be the jumping off points for your story. And then start going through them, start going over. Does this one seem interesting? Does this one, oh, I like how this one does. Maybe I can combine it with this other thing. So this can start out very informally. You don't have to sit down at the computer and write the entire book in one sitting. But thinking about what you want to say with your story, what do you want it to be about? What do you want the message to be? Children's books can be deceptively difficult because we think of children's books as being very simple, but it actually takes a lot of wisdom and insight and work to condense an idea down to a very basic, easily digestible visual and story. And so oftentimes we get hung up on like, well, this should be super simple. It's not necessarily simple. There is a lot of work that goes into making sure that you have a solid concept and a solid moral of the story or takeaway, and then being able to condense that down. Once you have a draft, getting input from other people can always be a good step, but coming up with something that starts capturing the flow and the story of what you're going is all part of this process. At this stage, you can also be thinking about things like, where does this take place? What kind of characters are they going to be? What sort of voice am I going to use? Am I going to be telling this from the perspective of one of the characters? Is it going to be for older children? Who is the audience that I'm going to be talking to? All of these considerations will give you an idea of how to move forward and how long the book should be, how many words you should use, the kinds of words that you use, the language. If you're writing a book for younger children, it will be shorter, it will be more concise, there won't be as many words. As the children get older, you can start to introduce more complicated words and ideas, and these are all considerations to keep in mind when you are planning the first stages of writing the book.